to my beautiful subscribers, followers, whoever you are, or if you're new to my channel. My name is Megan with Vigilante Vibes, and this is my podcast where I give all the content, mostly Marvel, but there's also a lot of other fandoms mixed in there too, but it is all non-toxic. What does that mean? That means no racism, sexism, homophobia, none of that. I don't like it. It's not nowhere welcome on my channel. And if you are into that, then you should go find another channel. But the reason why I'm here is to give you a character breakdown. With Thunderbolts being right around the corner, less than a month away, I thought it was a good time to talk about the characters. And today I want to talk about Taskmaster. Taskmaster is a interesting one, given how different the comic version is to the MCU version, and I want to discuss both. So, who is Taskmaster in the Thunderbolts? In the Thunderbolts, her name is Antonia Dreykov, and she is the daughter of General Dreykov. After surviving a near-fatal assassination attempt on her father, Antonia was subjected to mind and body control through a chip, which granted her exceptional photographic reflexes. These reflexes enabled her to mimic the combat skills of others, transforming her into Taskmaster. As the leader of the Red Room, Taskmaster was tasked by her father with hunting down Yelena, who I will make a video about because I love Yelena, who had stolen their red dust and could potentially free the other Black Widows. This mission brought Taskmaster face to face with the person who nearly killed her years earlier, Natasha Romanoff. However, after Romanoff killed Dreykov and destroyed the Red Room Academy, Taskmaster was exposed to the red dust, breaking the control over her mind. This freed her, allowing her to escape the Red Room and begin a new chapter of her life. That's all very well and good. Now you know the female Taskmaster. That's all you need to know. But I'd like to discuss the comic-accurate Taskmaster, who goes by the name of Anthony Masters. Tony for short. Taskmaster first appeared in The Avengers number 195 in May of 1980, created by writer David Michelinie and artist George Perez, making his full debut in Avengers number 196 in June 1980. Tony Masters is a former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent who later became a mercenary and assassin, widely known as Taskmaster. He has used his unique ability to mimic the physical abilities, whether in combat or athletics, of anyone he observes, thanks to his photographic reflexes. As the number of superheroes increased over time, Masters decided to put his talents to better use by establishing the Taskmaster Academy, where he trains government agents, villains, heroes, and henchmen alike. That's the short version of him. Let's take it all the way back, like I tend to do. Tony Masters was born with the ability to replicate the movements of others after only brief observation. By the age of 8, he began to fully realize his photographic reflexes, allowing him to quickly mimic various skills. For example, he learned to dive into a swimming pool after watching someone else do it, picked up a special technique from the top NBA players, and even mastered twirling a lasso by watching cowboys on TV. As an adult, Tony joined S.H.I.E.L.D. and became an agent. During a mission, he discovered an elderly scientist mortally wounded by a gunshot. Before dying, the scientist gave Tony a syringe containing an experimental Nazi version of the super soldier serum, meant to enhance the abilities he had gained through his photographic reflexes. After injecting himself with the serum, Tony developed additional powers, but at the cost of his personal memories, as the memories he absorbed from others began to overwrite his own. As a result, Tony forgot his wife, Mercedes Masters, who was also his field agent partner, along with his history with S.H.I.E.L.D. To help manage and control Tony in his new identity as Taskmaster, Mercedes created a complex system of muscle memory and reflex tasks. She linked him to the Org, a handler who guided him between jobs and ensured he stayed on track despite his frequently altered memory. The Org was actually Mercedes herself, who gathered intelligence through Taskmaster's report and fed it back to S.H.I.E.L.D. As a result, Tony became the ultimate double agent in the supervillain world, unknowingly working as both a pawn and an informant. Tony used his stolen funds to establish a training facility for criminals known as the Taskmaster's Academy. Adopting the name Taskmaster, he began offering training to anyone who could afford it. One of his first students was Dawn of the Dead, a crime lord, governor of Michoacan in western Mexico. To show his allegiance to the Don and his men, Tony wore a skull inspired mask as a tribute to Saint Muerte, a Catholic personification of death, which is just, I like it. When Dr. Purnell Solomon used the Solomon Institute for the Criminally Insane as a cover, he took advantage of Taskmaster's Academy to create a clone of himself named Selby. When Dr. Solomon needed an organ transplant due to his rare blood type, the clone learned of his fate and reached out to the Avengers. Taskmaster captured Yellowjacket, the Wasp, and Ant-Man when they tried to attack the site. He fought the Avengers, but his operation was exposed. After a battle with Jocasta, the Avengers' newest member, Taskmaster was defeated and fled. Jocasta's lack of body language made it impossible for Taskmaster to anticipate any of her moves. In addition to running his academies, Taskmaster also worked as a mercenary and private instructor. He trained John Walker to become the new Captain America for the commission of superhuman activities, and later trained Cutthroat to fight Captain America on behalf of Red Skull. So he plays both sides. Eventually, Taskmaster considerably changed his appearance. He wore a costume apparently modeled after a tactical body armor, replacing his previous pirate-themed garb, and also ceased carrying an arsenal of duplicate weapons. He began operating as a more traditional mercenary instead of just an instructor. He first met Sandy Brandenburg after beginning his mercenary MO. Taskmaster spent some time with Wade Wilson after Deadpool gained notoriety for the 4 Winds hit and hired Sandy as his personal assistant. Although Wilson was not responsible for the hit, the real assassin, Black Swan, came after him and his associates. Both Wilson and the Swan were believed to have died in the explosion. But it's Wilson. When Sandy found an amnesiac with superhealed abilities, she took him in, thinking he was Wade Wilson. Taskmaster reluctantly agreed to train the man, who went by Alex Hayden, at Sandy's request, though he believed the inexperienced mercenary would only get her into more trouble. Taskmaster attempted to have Alex killed by setting him up on a job to steal the Punisher's 45s, and later informed the surviving members of the 4 Winds that Hayden was Wilson. However, when Sandy's life was put in danger due to his actions, Taskmaster decided to stand with Alex and his ally Outlaw to face the 4 Winds. Alex and Sandy eventually became romantically involved, which angered Taskmaster. Things became even more complicated when both Deadpool and Black Swan made their returns. In the end, Taskmaster and Sandy appeared to end up together while Alex and Outlaw reunited. The entire group stayed together for a time, operating as Agency X. Taskmaster was later hired by the committee to take out Moon Knight. He attacked Mark Spector's apartments, but failed to kill him. Spector responded by piloting his mooncopter to the committee's Manhattan headquarters, flying it directly into their office. Miraculously, all of the committee members actually survived. After receiving a presidential pardon from Maria Hill for exposing security issues with the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier, Taskmaster briefly became one of the Thunderbolts' detainees. He was later released and assigned to Camp Hammond to serve as a trainer for initiative recruits, while their previous drill instructor, Gauntlet, recovered from injuries inflicted by one of the trainees. During this time, Michael Van Patrick, a deceased initiative member, resurfaced with a weapon called the Tactagon and began attacking everyone at the camp. Taskmaster had little interest in joining the fight, preferring to watch from the sidelines alongside one of his recruits, Ant-Man. So we can't talk about Taskmaster without talking about Dark Reign and Sage from the comics. So after Norman Osborn's power grab, Taskmaster took over the training for the entire initiative and played a role in the siege of Asgard. He participated in the battle against Thor to boost his reputation as an assassin, which will do. That'll do it. During the conflict, he fought both Captain America simultaneously, achieving surprising success. However, realizing that his side was losing, Taskmaster chose to flee to the Constrictor and return to mercenary work. He then taunted Norman Osborn, revealing that he had previously helped Deadpool. After losing his weapons in Tokyo, Tony, you know, Taskmaster, began a quest to remember some of the things that he had been forgetting. On this quest, his former handler, the Org, seemed to put out $1 billion bounty on his head. Many of the teams he formerly trained, including AIM and Hydra, attempted to collect the bounty by killing him, but only succeeded in tracking him on his quest. It was during this memory quest that Tony temporarily learned of his true past, that of a former married S.H.I.E.L.D. agent who mistakenly took a Nazi serum that vastly amplified his photographic reflexes and gave him an extraordinary set of abilities. He also briefly met his wife and handler, Mercedes. Ultimately, he was forced to learn the new fighting skill of Redshirt, the man who put out a fake bounty which erased all of his knowledge regarding his past. Tony discovered that this event of recovering his old memories only for them to be erased upon acquiring a new skill that already happened repeatedly in the past. Whew. Taskmaster was recruited to join S.H.I.E.L.D.'s Secret Avengers team after Nick Fury Jr. rescued him from a criminal nation of Bagalia. His first assignment was to infiltrate AIM's High Council as a double agent, assuming the position of Minister of Defense. So moving on up. During an attempt to rescue Mockingbird from AIM's captivity, Taskmaster was ambushed by the TES-1 and shot in the head by Mockingbird, who had been brainwashed by AIM. However, Mockingbird deliberately missed his vital organs, and Taskmaster was revealed to be alive, though he was in a vegetative state. Believing him to be dead, the Secret Avengers left him behind, but his survival was eventually discovered by Mentalo, who had become friends with him. Mentalo kept Taskmaster's survival a secret and used his nanobots in an attempt to cure him. After a brief stint as a member of Baron Zemo's Hydra, Taskmaster relocated his base of operations to Bagalia, where he became the sheriff of the lawless nation. Around this time, an evil version of Captain America from an alternate timeline secretly replaced for the real Captain America. Taskmaster was involved in an operation in Bagalia and managed to obtain a recording of the evil Captain America pledging his loyalty to Hydra. Taskmaster and Black Ant attempted to sell the recording to Maria Hill, but Elisa Sinclair, an ally of the evil Captain America, intercepted them and forced them to become her new bodyguards. When Hydra eventually rose to power and conquered the United States, Taskmaster and Black Ant became members of Hydra's Avengers. However, as Hydra began to lose the final battle against the Resistance, the duo switched allegiances. They freed some of Hydra's prisoners, including the Champions, hoping the young heroes would vouch for them later. After Hydra's defeat and return to the Order, Taskmaster returned to his mercenary work. Kraven, the Hunter, hired Taskmaster and Black Ant to capture all animal-inspired criminals to be imprisoned in Central Park for him, to fight against poachers, so that everyone he thought acted dishonorably would annihilate each other, which isn't a bad idea. It's not the worst idea. Ants are also animals, so Kraven convinced Taskmaster to betray Black Ant, paying him more than other prey. Tony felt guilty for cheating his best friend, and shortly thereafter, he was forced through blackmail by the Lizard to pretend to catch him and take him to Kraven, so that Kurt could find his son, who was one of many who had been kidnapped. When the force field collapsed, some prisoners tried to take revenge on Black Ant, but Taskmaster prevented it and took Eric back to safety, consolidating their friendship. So that is Taskmaster in the comics. He has a rich background. There's a lot to work with, a lot of exciting things, really cool stuff. Now, what are some of the best comics to really get to know Taskmaster, you ask? Well, never fear, because I have a few you can check out. So, starting off, Taskmaster, The Right Price, Siege, number 1 through 4, Taskmaster, number 1 through 5, Avengers, The Initiative, 1 through 19, Cable and Deadpool, number 36, Taskmaster, Unthinkable, number 1 through 4, Thunderbolts, numbers 130 and 131. I know it sounded really slow when I said it, but if you're only listening to the audio version of this episode, the video has pictures of the comics, so you know which ones to get. And I wanted to give them the pictures time to be on screen. I don't need to explain myself. But also, most recently, he's joined Deadpool's mercenary business with Deadpool's daughters, Ellie and Princess, and Cody Ziegler's run of Deadpool. Definitely check that out because that is a super, really fun read. I'm having a blast with it. Cody Ziegler is awesome, and they do a fantastic job through that whole thing. So, what does all this mean for Thunderbolts? Well, I'm here to tell you. Taskmaster's probably going to die. Like, there's no way she's not. If you've watched any of the trailers, then you know that Taskmaster just isn't there. She's nowhere to be found. I think I've seen her in one. And then there was the next trailer where they actually put the names of the Thunderbolt members. No Taskmaster. She's done. And I'm fine with it. Honestly, I loved Taskmaster in the comics. I love him in the comics. He's a fun character. And you had no reason to change him. It made no sense for anything. You kind of forced Taskmaster into a story just so the gender switch makes sense to the story, which I don't like. I'm all fine with gender bent characters. I don't care about any of that. But if you're doing it and then you're doing a disservice to the character and giving them a lesser story and you're watering them down, then I don't like it. I don't like that at all. At the end of the day, I want the character to be respected by where they come from, but also the story, the movie. Like, you could have come up with a million different ways for Taskmaster to be more comic accurate in Black Widow, but you didn't. And I take that personally. So, if you're cool with the Taskmaster change, I'm happy for you. Totally fine. I don't care. But for me personally, I wish they would have kept it comic accurate. At the very least, made it Tony Masters. I love Tony Masters. I think he's great. Great in the comics. Very, very fun character. But I think Marvel does know the backlash, and I'm surprised they didn't know before that it would happen because it was just a pointless change to make that didn't help anyone. So I think they're just going to kill off Taskmaster. I could see it being a Loki and Infinity War kind of thing if you catch my drift. So I don't think Taskmaster's going to be with us for very much longer. And that's okay. Because she didn't really add anything to my life anyways. But what can you do? So, God, I sound like such a hater. I'm so sorry. But I'm still mad about it. That's okay though. So this was my breakdown of Taskmaster. Keep an eye out for other breakdowns I'm going to have. I think the next one will be Ghost. And then, Red Guardian, Yelena, all these great characters. So I'm going to release them and you watch them and then you tell me what you think of them. Please let me know in the comments your theories on Taskmaster in Thunderbolts. And let me know what you thought of this breakdown, because I want to know if you're liking it so I can keep doing it or I stop doing it. I don't know. I'm not going to stop doing it. I really like these. So I'm just full of surprises today, I guess. So be sure to like and subscribe, and please have a marvelous night.